5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Hello. Well, and welcome everybody back to Third Eye Salon. We are very excited to have you here with us on a Friday night. If you were with us live. As always, we have my bestie, Linda Coulter-Burge, psychic and conscious business coach. Hey, Linda.
Hi, everyone. So glad you could join us. Very excited for tonight's guest.
Yeah, absolutely. And tonight's guest is Bobbie Richardson. She is from New Zealand, but now living in Australia. Is that right, Bobbie?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. So just to kind of give you a little brief overview, Bobbie is somebody who's just able to access dimensions really easily. It's just something that's always been with her. Always been very natural. And she's had some huge, sort of those like highlight moments that are life-changing. And she's provided that in her bio, but I kind of skimmed it down because the last thing that you lovely folks want is to listen to me read for like 2 pages worth. So I've skimmed it down, and there's going to be some bits that Bobbie's probably going to be like, oh, I also want to make sure you know about XYZ. And that is more than fantastic. And before we even get into that, I'm going to ask you to remember to like, share, subscribe, all those things that we always say, and to click the notification bell. So that way, when we do go live, you actually get a notification and you don't miss anything. And also down below in the description box, we have our Facebook page. And we also have, you're welcome to join our Facebook page. We would love that. And then also we have Bobbie's information down there as well as some her website, and then the video where I found her, which is the Paradigm Shift, which is a YouTube channel in Australia. So that's where I discovered her and was like, oh my gosh, I've got to bring her on. So I'm going to hop into Bobbie's bio so that way we can start the conversation. So Bobbie Richardson was first contacted by extraterrestrials when she was 11 and has seen numerous UFOs throughout her life, although her vision started around the age of 4. She has since been visited by many interdimensional and extraterrestrial beings, but 4 main races gave her their side of the story towards humanity's evolution and true history, which she has now incorporated into her public speaking events. And that's something I definitely want to get into and find out what those 4 beings had said. So Bobbie has been shown realities that she could only describe as potential new Earths and what they felt like. She can remember being on Pleiades when she was 19 and was told she would guide humanity back home. She is a mom of 3 amazing and talented girls. Bobbie got to see her youngest one standing beside her bed when she was still pregnant with her, and the other 2 astral traveled out of their cot to be with her until they were around 4 months old, one of the gifts of being able to see into other frequencies. As a creator, Bobbie is a gifted author, illustrator, singer-songwriter, and poet. In 2000, she won a competition with a main radio station, B105, by performing her original song on Channel 7 Today, Tonight's news program in Queensland, Australia. She has performed live in front of a Broncos game and has been in many bands traveling around New Zealand, South Island, recording 15 original songs. All of her songs have profound messages within. She has also published 2 children's books, leading our children into empowering themselves through connecting and knowing thyself. For the last 3 years, she has been asked to do several public speaking talks and loves to share her experiences. She has found her visions are less these days and is now rewarded with channeling messages for all to learn from. And that's something she was telling us before we hopped on, was that she's not seeing as much, but she's channeling. And so it's kind of like her modality has switched from seeing into expressing, which is fantastic. So welcome again, Bobbie. It's just great to have you here.
Oh, it's so good to be here. Yeah. I'm very excited about this whole coming forth and being part of this, coming into our authentic self and being part of lifting everybody else's vibration towards that goal so that we can create something brand new here on Earth. And that's the importance of it all. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were chatting about that too, where Bobbie's mission for her has been to find her authentic self, but then also to empower others. That's part of her mission. And I kind of wanted to also get into the idea here of, there's so much I want to talk to you about. So it's like, I'm not sure exactly where to start, but, I'm so curious about your experience with New Earths and, seeing these New Earths, because I feel like one of the things that you're doing, what I get from you is that you are a conduit where it's like these multiple realities, these multiple dimensions are able to come through you. You're able to experience them. And then your gift is to express them through your art, through your creativity, through your communication. Does that resonate when I say that?
Yes, that does resonate very much. Yeah, I'm just, honestly, I'm pretty humbled by the whole experiences of my life. I'm just a mum. That's how I see it, and I love being that. But I have lived two realities through my whole life, and I can't, I could just concentrate on one aspect of that, and then there's just so much to it. There's so much in depth into my life and where it's taken me. Like you said about the New Earth and what you're really curious about that. I woke up in a reality that was our potential, and in that potential was just a clear, absolute clear mind. There was no chit chatter or anything, just being in this beautiful presence, exploring the world as one, and this connection with nature and earth was just part of the exploring, and the exploring of creating something from ourselves and everything as well. Telepathy, telekinesis, and all of that was absolute present. Our gifts were all ignited, and we all have these present. But there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture to this whole game that I've been given recently as well. And the bigger picture goes with the lessons that we learnt thousands of years ago about our imagination and our intuition has already happened. Call it the Aquarius. No, what is it? The
Age of Aquarius?
age. No, the oh, now I've forgotten. My words are jumbled.
That's okay.
You know how Atlantis. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, call that Atlantis. So that was very right brain, very in the imagination, we learned all those lessons. And we were supposed to learn those lessons because we were bred by two very opposing personality species. One was consumer, and that one was also into the material side, the lineal story, the beauty of being in 3D, all of this beautiful stuff that was the logical side. And the other side was the creative, expressive, and into connection to source energy and connection to everything and intuition and all of that side. So these two beings so happened, tripped up over Earth, and I'm not saying it's just two species. There's a lot more to it. There's, I'm breaking it down to two so it's easier to handle, but there's a lot more other stories that go around this. And these two different species came together, created humans. Now we have both sides of our brain within us that we had to learn from. So there was kind of a contract that was made between these when they knew who they were, when they entered through source energy and found who they were, because we all keep going around in a big cycle like a torus, like a donut thing. And when we come to the center of that donut, it's source energy. It's where we learn who we value, who we really authentically are. We're all just love. So when they learned that, they came from that point of, yes, we make a contract together that you have a turn and I have a turn. So the right brain was all to do with that. Now, by the time they got round to the outside of this torus, further away from the center, which is love, I hope you guys are keeping up with me. I wish I had a diagram. I'm just going to do this. So in the center, which is what we're coming to now, eons ago, they came to that center. Humanity was born from that center of love. And now they come through, they go round their journey. First part was the right brain, lessons about the right brain. Then slowly the left brain was introduced. So you haven't all the, anyone to do with the right brain was condemned and killed, and all of those things happened because we needed to learn all about our left logical side of ourself as well, to bring harmony to both, because both come from love, both come from source energy. So we've learned all about the logical side of ourselves, and we've come to the point where it's like, we've learned what we need to learn. We've had enough of that lesson. We get it. Now we're coming back to center again, to love, and we will come back to our authentic selves as human beings, and now work together with both sides of our brain, of ourselves. So we're going to wake up the sleeping, intuitive, imaginative side of ourselves, which has a connection to source energy.
Yes.
And that means we don't need leaders anymore, because the reason why we needed leadership is because the left side of us, our logical side of ourselves, wasn't connecting to the right brain, because that was asleep, which has the vessel to go through to source energy. It needed leadership. So the leadership that we've had recently is for the logical side to be able to learn from itself through this leadership. So now we're clicking that back on. So you see it in all of the fairy tales, it's in our reality. We've got Sleeping Beauty and Snow White. They're all put to sleep. The right brain was put to sleep.
Wow.
And it's like a bug that has two wings on it, and you've put one wing asleep. Well, the bug just spins around in a constant circle. It can't go anywhere. So what we've done is we keep regurgitating our own issues over and over, because that's all the left brain can do, right? But we had to learn all about it. So here we go, another life, same problem, another life, same problem. Or even during your life, you see the stories recreate.
Right. You see
we
your
haven't
patterns.
got the imagination to shift us out of that pattern, that story. We haven't got as much of that ignited. Now, it's always been there, but it's just a little bit. So, now we're coming back to the point where we're bringing both sides of ourselves together, acknowledging the value of both sides, not just intuition and imagination, not just logic, the value of both sides and what we can create from there. Oh my God, what we can create from there. And
you're singing Linda's song right there, because Linda is all about being on both sides. And I saw that you wanted to jump in and ask a question, Linda. Do you still have that question with you?
Well, it's question/comment, because I have, Kat's right. I've been singing this song for a very long time. In fact, a lot of times I will say I speak business and I speak woo-woo. And, and cross those. And I'm seeing that, mainstream is embracing this in different ways. Dialectic behavior therapy is combining what they call the wise mind, the logic and the intuition, the logic and the feeling, and making judgments and from both sides of the brain, they call wise mind. And so I love that Kat also works with people in the same way, that bringing people who have been more logical in their past, who are exploring that intuitive side, and people who are very intuitive who are now exploring and strengthening those muscles of the logical side.
Brilliant.
And I'm really seeing that happen more and more. And I used to feel very out of sync with everyone. I didn't really fit in either world. And it's not till recently that it was like, oh, the world's fitting into this. This is the world emerging and how we are.
Yeah, I feel like this is our time. Like, the world's been waiting for us. It didn't know it needed us. And now it's our time. And we're able to say, yeah, I actually do both. And they're like, oh, so I don't have to be like, if they feel weird or left out because they're trying to make their way from one side to the other, we're the ones that can translate it for them and say, it's okay. It's okay. There's a path, there's a way, there's a road. You're not alone. It lets those people have those moments of integration. One of the things I really wanted to, because I can see right away, Bobbie, you're somebody, if I pull the string, you have got like a book that you are like going to share because you're just so rich with content. And I wanted to like pull back a little bit and say, what was your experience? Because you said this one brief sentence and I was like, oh, that's the sentence. Let's get in there. You were like, I woke up, you know, in the new earth. And it's like, okay, wait, that's so juicy. What was that like? Did you have a near-death experience? Was it a meditation? Like, how did you get there? How did you leave there? What was your experience of the new earth? Like, give us some more of those juicy details.
Okay. So as you know, what maybe you know, I've always seen things that others can't see into other frequencies. So I'll have all sorts of different things through, it was a span of about 30, 40 years where things will come to me and show me themselves and all that sort of stuff. I was actually working at the time with, there was awakening up on myself where I woke up and heard American Indian drum beats, very loud. This is not inside my head. This is music that's happening outside my head. I was working with elementals and the Indian side of myself, Indian side, which ended up leading me to a Cherokee elder for real, who took my hand and guided me further because I wanted to meet somebody of high integrity. I actually put that out to my universe to meet this person. During those times when that all happened, this is back in 2005, around that time, these beings took me in my sleep to another reality. Now it felt, I know it sounds like, oh, she just had a dream, but the thing is, it's different between normal dreams and something that you've been taken to, is you feel like you're there. You absolutely 100% feel like you're there. So I woke up in my dream in another reality. And in that reality, I was high up in a very tall building on a mountain. The only way you could get there was to teleport. Now, if you think about it logically, we can easily escape all of this that's going on in this lower dimensional story if we had the ability to teleport, because no one could control something that we have from within us. And I heard within myself a knowing that someone was coming to my door that was visiting me. So there was that telepathic communication. I stepped out to the door. They just teleported there. We could have a cup of tea. It's just like normal, just like this. It's, you know, same as what's going on here. You could go and make it if you want. You can do the hand thing if you want and make it, or you can manifest it within your reality and just go, oh, a cup of tea, I need to manifest that, and put your hands out. Here's a tray with a cup of tea. Or you could go in and, you know, physically use the jug and the whatever you wanted if you wanted to. I just chose, it was easier for me, because I think you make different choices when you have these abilities within yourself. But some people would like to do the choice of the logical, you know, go through the motions because it's kind of fun for them or whatever. But you only choose things that are fun for you from then on. We went out to the veranda. There was huge mountains in the background. I felt this connection with all, like we are just one. If you wanted to tap into the mountains and talk to them, if you wanted to tap into the grass or to a blade of grass, you could talk to it. There was certain frequencies that were all, everything held a frequency that you could learn from. The animals you could learn from, the trees you could learn, everything had something that we could learn from. And we are like the neuron paths of Earth, of Gaia. We are part of her. We are her consciousness finding ourselves and her finding herself. So she's rebirthing into something new, and with it, as so are we. We are the neuron paths connecting to her to translate all that we've learned and all that we're about to learn through her, and her being us. It's a new concept.
Yeah, I mean, I love this idea that because, you know, right now, as we all know, we're so disconnected from the planet, right?
That's
so
the left logical brain just being disconnected from everything, which is meant to have
yes,
happened. Yes.
we're so addicted to our technology. And so
Anything
you know, that's a
outside of
general statement.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Because
here you
that's
are saying that in this New Earth experience that you had, you're like, well, like I'm in this body, I can manifest instantly, but you have this sense that you are almost, you can feel that you are, you're like a neuron of Gaia, like you're part of her neural network. And as opposed to being rebellious and working against her, you're now in syncopation and you're now in expression with her. Like you're your own person, but you understand your connection with Gaia as being part of her expression, expressing the divine, expressed through Gaia, expressed through us. It's a flow. It's not delineated and separated. It's an expression of flow of being all of that, but in its proper, I'm just tuning into it, like
That's
in
good.
its proper alignment. Does that resonate?
Yes. Yes. So you wouldn't, it's like, well, you wouldn't turn around and stab your own hand, would you? So, you know, if you're hurting Gaia, you feel it too. So but because there's been that disconnection from the right brain of ourselves, which was supposed to happen, do not get down on yourself for the experience that you had. And if you see it from source, from God's perspective, from the God within, whatever you want to call it, prime creative, if you see it from that perspective, every single experience is brought God in itself an experience. It doesn't matter what it was. So there's no need to judge yourself for the things that you've done in the past, because even in those moments of unclarity, you have given a insight for God, source, prime creator to have experienced. And it's all part of the whole. And it's a learning, I've got too far away from the love of who I know, the authentic love of who I know of myself now. So I need to bring myself back to that love. And through that, it's felt what that feels like. Wow, that feels different. And I didn't really like or appreciate myself then, but you know, it's part of the experience. It's part of what was supposed to happen. Yeah.
It's like this, it's like the Akashic, what I call, you know, it's like what I understand to be the Akashic records, where like all of this content that we experience is archived into this organic library, this living organic library called the Akashic records, where it's like the universe grows from that. Everything learns and benefits. Even in our darkest moments of separation, there's some silver or gold lining where the universe learns and grows. So in this context, or in this experience where you're in the new earth, you are seeing that this is one of our potential realities. And what I remember, you know, listening to your talk on paradigm shift, paradigm shift, what's the other word? Paradigm shift summit. Paradigm shift summit. That's it. What you were saying was that you saw, you know, multiple new earths, like multiple possibilities. And I'm wondering, what do you see in terms of the differences between the earths and what choices lead to each earth? Because we are one being, whether we realize it or not, we are one being, and we are collectively deciding which one we're going to go to and how we're going to experience that. And I'm wondering if you have any detail, any texture around that.
Well, we're bringing it all into, it's not that we're leaving the third dimension. I know lots of people think we're leaving the third dimension. The third dimension is an important aspect to ourselves, because we can have a story that runs in lineal, you know, and we can understand it from a certain point of view. It's easy to follow. I can tell you a story, you know, instead of this all over the show, which is very right brain and only right brain. Yeah, so the multiple earths that you're talking about, though, is everybody has a piece of the puzzle, and everybody has their thing that makes their soul, part of their soul, sing. And their soul, when you move in towards your happiness, and decide, right, from now on, I'm not taking any of that stuff from over there, what those leaderships are trying to do to me anymore. I'm moving my energy towards what creates my happiness for me. I'm taking the reins. I take responsibility. I don't need your leadership anymore. This is where I'm going. And when you start to do that and you become more authentic in yourself, you have a vibration that's so beautiful and so important to the whole. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you've been through, what you've done. That expression itself is going to create a certain vibration on earth. And that is what I would perceive as a different scenario to maybe what I would go to, because my expression is different than maybe what somebody else's is.
So
but it's all part of the whole. We won't be excluding anyone's reality, but everyone's reality is valid of the whole. Yeah.
So then would you be saying that what you saw was that all of these were new Earths and all of them were potential destination points depending on what your journey was, and that it's still, because it's interesting, it's hard for us to wrap our minds around, right? Because you talk about like, I went here and you just teleport there, you manifest a tea in your hand, and it's like, that's fairyland. That sounds great, but that sounds like fairyland. That can't be 3D Earth. That can't be 3D Earth. It has to be 5D Earth, where the density is much lighter.
Absolutely. But we're not leaving 3D Earth. We're bringing in 5. We're expanding. We're becoming more of ourselves, and that brings in that 5D, 7D, whatever you want to call it, 9D, wherever you're going, you're expanding. But we don't leave the 3D plane. So for instance, all of a sudden, boom, I could say you're telepathic, yeah, and boom, you're telekinetic, yeah. And on all of these beautiful things, I call them the 3 T's.
And you call them the 3 T's.
The 3 T's. You could astral travel instead of the 3 R's. We're going to the 3 T's. So as soon as you could do that sort of thing, your vibration will still be here, but you have the ability to do that. So you make different choices. So then that's bringing in an observational point of view, because now you're seeing things from an observational point of view, because you're in a different dimensional space within yourself. But you're still here on Earth. Earth still grows. It still has the trees. It still has the butterflies. Still has all of the things that we can feel, touch, because we're bringing in our left logical brain as well to the whole story. We need that left brain to be able to bring it into so that we don't lose this beautiful 3D. So we don't lose this, because if we just went with the right brain, we would be in the higher dimensions, and this would be this beautiful thing here would be gone. But can you imagine being on Earth with the awakening of the right brain? We've already created so much just from the left brain being, developed.
So
holy shit!
The little trickles that we get from the right brain.
Oh my God, what we can create when we bring in that right brain and allow ourselves to go towards our happiness. There's people out there that are so stuck in themselves and going, what do I do next? Because their next journey is something completely different. Their next journey of what's going to make their soul sing is astral traveling, is telekinesis, learning about telekinesis, is learning about all of these beautiful things from their higher self as they connect to more of their authentic, right brain and click it online. And so they're at the moment going, I don't know what to do. Everything's boring me. It's just getting mundane, and I'm over all of those programs, and I'm just over it, because they're getting ready to click into their right brain and bring in imagination, intuition, and that their happiness will drive them towards those places of learning more and sharing what they learn in their gifts.
And what I'm getting from what you're saying, Linda, I want Linda to hop in here in just one moment. What I'm getting from what you're saying is that, like, you can get in the 3D experience, you can just tap into all those different dimensions because there's no more barrier. So depending on what you want to create, what you want to express that day, it's all about your relationship to those dimensions.
That's right.
And I see you nodding. Miss Linda, hop in with your question, because I don't want to cut you off here.
So I part of what I've been getting is that, and I've been hearing other people kind of say the same thing, is that there is we're at a point of potential where we can step into that and feel more grace in our life, or we can stay where we are and not step into that, and that it'll become more difficult.
It will feel uncomfortable.
It will feel very uncomfortable. Yes. And so I want you to address that, but I also want to address, I was with a group this morning that was talking about really struggling with some of the things that they see in life that are harrowing, are horrific for them, that they have a lot of judgment around, that are very painful, that they see happening. And maybe you can give some insight to that.
Yes. So most people that are seeing these things, it's usually not right on their doorstep, usually. I know some people there are, but lots of it has been from the TV or the media or whatever. That's the program they're trying to bring us into fear. But what is very valuable at the moment is to bring yourself to the moment of who you are, where you're at right now. If you can't handle those things, if it's bringing you out of alignment with yourself, I would turn them off. There are people in this world that can handle those things and come from love and change them. And that's their job. That's what they are here to do. David Icke, people like that. They are supposed to, they can handle things and come from love. But if you're one of those people that are feeling, you're empathic and you're feeling into it, and it's just horrible what's happening, I personally would take that away. I can't deal with anything with cruelty to animals, so I don't do anything cruelty to animals. Yes, because I love them so much. So I've chosen to focus my energy on what brings me joy and takes me to my happiness of where my soul is supposed to go, so I can add to this whole, to this beautiful world that we're creating, rather than go into the program of what they're trying to get you into, being a victim still to the controlled system that they're trying to hold on to. They are only pushing us this far because we haven't woken up. If we wake up, they will fall away. Their job is to push us into waking up, to taking the reins ourselves, taking responsibility for ourselves, our responsibility for our minds and where our minds are directing. They will keep pushing until we say, no more. I'm my authentic self, and I know where my happiness is. I know where I'm going. I'm going to flow towards that happiness now. I don't need to listen to that. I trust, absolutely 100% trust, that there's other people out there that have got the job to handle those people, that have got the job to bring them down. There's absolutely people out there that can do that from love. If you can't do it from love, don't do it. Just leave it. Yeah.
Okay, that was beautiful. I feel like that was really empowering because it gives people permission to step away if it's not their gift. If this isn't your gift, don't try to make it your gift because it'll bring you suffering. Do you feel like
you can't heal everything? You're here for a specific purpose, and your purpose is driven by your heart, where you find most joy. And what resonates with you with that is going to shift this earth into such a beautiful place. And it is absolutely valid. But the more you cling on to trying to heal everything around the world, the more they have control over you. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to lean into your gift, not the programming. Like, the programming is you're responsible for everything, and that's not the truth. Lean into your gift. Miss Linda, follow up with that. I know you have a follow-up question.
So with that, one of the things that you said early on was how you're just a mom, which I never think there's just a mom. Ever.
I love being a mum, but I suppose what I'm saying is I love being a mum. It's been a great job for me to have.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. Thank you.
But that there's also, you have found that you have always been a creative being, and that your expression comes through creativity. And one of the things that is really coming into my awareness is that is how the divine expresses, is through our art, through our creativity, whether it be singing, writing,
Podcasts.
podcast,
Yes.
your work. I mean, it can show up in your work and how you do your work. It can show up in actual art.
Because it
It's
brings
in that creativity.
Yes, it brings in new vibrations. Every time you create something, you're giving source energy a new vibration to learn from. And the blessing that humanity has is when we do bring in our right brain. And you know how you have an imagination and you go, oh, I'm going to paint this beautiful picture, right? And then you go to paint it and you've got your paintbrush, and the paint's a little maybe gluggy somewhere, or everything that you paint, you're like, oh, it didn't exactly work out to what my imagination was, but it's still beautiful, because you're now working your imagination with your logic and bringing it into story for 3D. So with that means that we're creating something brand new, even beyond our imagination, because we're allowing logic to play a part in how the paintbrush is going to splat on the piece of paper and so forth. And if you drip your paint somewhere accidentally, don't see it as an accident, see it as a blessing. This is something I'm going to choose to develop into something else, and it brings in another new energy. So the expression of ourselves as humanity is to create and experience and have all these wonderful stories that happen to us. Now, you don't have to be an artist. You could just, if your job is to be, a rubbish collector, and you get validation from helping, people get rid of their rubbish and clearing away all of the crap and stuff like that, that's just as important. Yes, it will probably change if new gifts come. But every single job that we have had and everything that we've done has never been a waste. I don't want anyone out there in the big wide world to think that, oh, I've wasted my life and now I feel like I should be doing something new and I don't know what to do. No. That's valid. That's a valid thing, experience, the left logical side feeling into what that all felt like. Yeah.
And I would like to tap onto that all of those work experiences, all of those experiences are what I call breadcrumbs. They're just leading us to the next step, and all those experiences play a part in where we go next.
That's exactly.
And we'll use, we'll look back. I don't know how many times I've looked back at experiences in my 20s that at the time seemed like hell on earth. But what I learned in there gave me skills for today.
And the strange thing that's been happening to me recently as we come very close to source energy and that love of ourselves and our authentic self is I look back at those moments that I used to really go, oh, yuck to. And I feel into the vibration and I go, holy crap, was I part of that? Wow, that feels different now. It feels, it just so different that it's almost like then I'm sad that I know that I'm letting it go, because it's such a beautiful experience in the sadness and the horribleness of itself. Sounds crazy, but yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. I'm actually going through, every now and then I'll shift back to past, and to clear it, I have to validate it, and to validate it, I have to love it, and then I have to let go of it from that love. Mm-hmm. And then I step into something new again and go, you know what, and now I'm learning from that. I'm taking that and I'm learning, and I've created something brand new. So yeah, it's like revisiting at the moment. It's been an interesting game. I think because I'm using the energy that's coming, and the energy has been very slow thousands of years ago, and then and now it's like this. It's just extremely quick. So we go through our emotional patterns really quickly, but we can clear really quickly. So you may be driving down the road and all of a sudden you have a overwhelming blissful feeling, which is everybody sending blissful love to you and raising your vibration so you can remember where you're going. And then all of a sudden, you're thinking 10 minutes later down the road of some negative aspect and that just happened to you, a few months ago, and you're like, oh, now I feel like I have to clear that. So it's like it just keeps going up and down like this until we get to the point of I know who I am, I'm an authentic, beautiful person. My story is valid. I love every part of myself. I don't love just the good stuff. I love every part of myself and my story.
God, that is so freaking empowering. And I love the concept that at a certain juncture, you see all the things that you held in judgment before and now are able to love them so much that you actually are like, oh, now that I have so much grace and compassion for that, it's hard to let it go because now my relationship to it is so different. That's so strong.
Excuse me, hang on.
And
Yep.
while she's talking, I'll add on.
Okay, when I was talking,
Yeah.
I drunk, and then I'm like, oh, I'm still in the, and I didn't swallow that properly. Hang on a second.
Oh no.
Okay, you take care of yourself. Yeah, please take care of yourself. Miss Linda, hop in with your question.
Sure. So
Bobbie recover.
just extending that thread out a little bit further, it's not just with ourselves. It's having those same non-judgments. It's having those same non-judgments that we would hold, that we're learning to have for ourselves, for others. And you can get a glass of water if you need to.
Yeah, I'll just be 1 second.
So I'll go on my little thing here while she's stepping out is that if we go back to, it's kind of one of those, I always step back to what do I know to be true for me? And that's that we are all one. We are all connected. The earth, the solar system, the chair I'm sitting on is a part of me. And that the things that we find are injustice, that we feel we have our judgments around, has a purpose that we may not understand, because again, as she said, we have our small spyglasses seeing our little piece of it, that we may not understand the whole picture, but we have to trust that sometimes a lot of things have to go wrong for something major to go right, for us to move forward. And so for me, it's being willing to acknowledge that all of those things can be true at the same time. It can be horrific in some aspects, and yet there's purpose in it, in moving us, we, me, all of us together forward. And that I think one of the things is that if you're called to take action, if you're called to move forward with love, and do so with love. And that's what I have to say about that.
I'm so sorry.
That's beautiful. Well, I'll take this moment also to remind people, because I didn't do it at the beginning, that Jillian, the lovely Jillian, is on live chat. So if you are with us live at this moment, you can reach out with Jillian, to Jillian with your questions, and she will collect those, and she is going to pop in at the end of the show and share those with us. I just want to make sure people know that, because I missed that housekeeping at the beginning. And then I just want to kind of totally change gears, because here's the other little, there's so much, but the thing I want you to break down, because when you did your big download at the Paradigm Shift Summit, was like, so I talked to a representative of these 4 different races, and they gave me their insight as to humanity's evolution and who we really are. And you also talk about it like there's a like a footnote in that in your bio, or and that is such a huge thing. And I would love for you to let us know, how did you meet these 4 beings, and who the 4 races, but a representative of the four races, who they are, and what it is that they came to give you. Yeah, and why. That's a lot, but I'll just let you go. I'll pull the string and I'll let you go.
Okay, the reason why it was a footnote, so to speak, is because it was a huge story, and I've tried telling this story in one go, and it just takes so long. So I will have to just try to get through
go with your channel it, say it, whatever from your heart, trust yourself. You'll say whatever you need to say.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Without doubt, I'll trust myself.
Yeah, you're
the first,
amazing.
the first beings that came to me were actually the reptilians. See, what had happened is I had so many visions. I had a lot of visions, and I had to find my power through some negative things that had happened to me as well. So with all these visions that were coming to me, I decided one year to, that's it, I'm taking the reins, I'm over this, this is how it's going to go. So I took the reins and said, I need only a couple of beings at a time to help me with this, instead of having everybody coming at me all at once. And they said to me, ask a question. Now, back then I was like, oh, geez, a question. Okay. What's the true history of mankind? Because I knew at school it didn't feel right, but I said, you know what, I'm just going to empty my cup. If school's right, fine. If it's a crazy ass story, fine. I'm just going to let my cup be empty and just see what happens. And I actually forgot about that question because I moved into the potential of humankind after talking with this elder that I met over in Ohio, and she held my hand and talked to me telepathically. So she drove me into what's our potential as humanity. But because that question was still being held as a vibration, over the next 10 years, I had these different beings coming to me to tell me their version of the story of humanity. It was given to me through feeling more than I'm sitting on your bed and I'm telling you blah, 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 blah. But feeling as in they did visit me. So the first ones that visited me were the reptilians. And they attacked me. But the reason why they came to my vibration is because they were teaching me not to be afraid, because I actually saw, this is for real, this isn't like in my head or anything. I woke up and I sat up and I saw a being coming out of a vase, and then it just slid down, and it was like about 4 feet tall with a duffel coat, pretending to be something else, very disguised, and kind of like a strange being. I knew it wasn't good. And just like in the movies, I sat up and I said, don't come any further. I don't want you to come any further. But, you blink your eyes like in a movie and it's boom, it's closer. You blink and it's closer, if you can imagine. And this thing actually sat on my bed and grabbed me around my neck and tried to put 2 pills in my mouth. And I had this kind of overwhelming calmness that came over me in that moment of, I'm going to get myself out of this. I don't know how I'm going to get myself out of this. I'm going to get myself out of this. And it's like all my chakras just went to one ball of light in the center between my heart and my sacral chakra and just exploded outwards. And I saw the whole thing happening. So I could feel, smell, this guy did not smell nice, smell everything. It was just awful. But then as soon as I must have risen my vibration out of his, which meant that I now was empowered, because I knew that I would always be safe within myself. I knew I'd always be safe. And I ran out to the earth and put my hands on the earth and grounded myself. I actually went back into that bedroom, and this was at a friend's place, and fell asleep. So what they had done in that moment is to give me the gift that they are empowering us by pushing us. And so I knew that their journey in this at this moment is to push us to our empowerment. Now, I couldn't have met these other beings unless I had become powerful within myself, because some of the other beings were pretty powerful. So they gave me that information, and also I also know that now that the draconian reptilian side of itself is very connected to Earth. There is a very valid reason, and they can actually help us a lot. They can help us a lot when they become empowered themselves and not try to split themselves from themselves, from creation, from source energy. So that was one being that came to me, then that happened over a couple of years, and I had to learn to control my mind. So they were in my mind for a while after that, and I was working with the elder Parisha, and she just completely don't want anything to do with you in that moment. And I had to really come to terms with the fact that I need to control my mind, not let them control my mind. So there was a huge lesson. I remember sitting outside saying to myself, if I can't do my mission, kill me now. I don't give a shit. I'm over it. Just take me. And this wind whirled up, and you know, like the earth's going whirling up, and I'm just like still there. And I'm like, shit, I have to carry on. Fine, let's go through this. So I walked inside to see Parisha and apologized, and you know, told her that I realized that I have to do some work. So that was great. Then that happened over a few years, all of this. So breakup of my marriage and all sorts of things started happening till I became very empowered within myself. Then the Pleiadians came in, much more gentler race. They were sent to us to oversee us and help us connect to Earth and through Source. And so they had that kind of creative thing happening. I know it sounds bad and good, but it's only sounding bad for the poor draconian races at the moment, because they're really pushing us to become our authentic selves, and that's their job to do that.
Well, their role is to be the bad guy. Like you have the good guy, the bad guy, everybody in between, and you know, that's their role.
That's because we come from a duality of brain that we're still trying to figure out and how to work this together. So anyway, the Pleiadians came, huge experience there. They first entered in a dream-like state, and I saw a beautiful blonde-haired, very, very vivid blue eyes being. But then the being came up to me in my dream state and put his forehead on my forehead, and he started chanting with Ra, and then these certain syllables that I'd never heard of, like just Ra, Ti, La, Fi, whatever. I can only remember Ra, is all I can remember. And then he turned his head and he would speak in a kind of an Egyptian Celtic kind of probably his language. And then he put his forehead back on my forehead, did this 5 times. Now I'm in this dream state, and my whole body is vibrating, and I'm waking up, and my whole body is vibrating as I'm waking up through this. So I knew that he was someone that I'd worked with and I taught in previous times. And I'd asked him at a certain level of my vibration to come and help wake me up. So that was his contract with me at that moment. And I actually woke up and went, yay, I've made it to this point. Yay. So they were actually sent by another race to help integrate us, because we were they're close to our, like cousins, they're close to our DNA and who we are, to help us integrate with Earth. They also helped create the elementals that go between Earth and humanity, to give us information of plant life and Earth and all of that sort of stuff. So there's a whole other thing there. So that was the Pleiadians. Then the next, after a few years of that, there was the next was the Annunakis. Oh crap, that was very interesting. So,
well, let me pop in for a quick question, because like Annunaki, as far as I know what it means like somebody from the other worlds. Like it just means alien. It's like the rough translation of Annunaki is alien. So who are the Annunaki to you? Like, give us a little bit more of a. The
Annunaki to me are the they are the left brain that's coming in. So when we've finished with the right brain intuition lesson, they started connecting with humanity to sever us from that right brain. Now, I'm not saying that they know everything that's happened when they were doing this. This is the story that develops. They might have a pull to come to Earth, and they're working with beings and stuff. So what they ended up doing is they To sever us from those, from the right brain, we needed language because we were only telepathic before. So they introduced language, writing, farming, all of those aspects with us. They also said they were gods because we're not connected to the right brain and source energy anymore. So they are like saying, we are gods, we're your gods, trust us, because we have no God. You humans need to learn from the left brain, which doesn't have a connection to source energy anymore. So we're your gods. So they came down. Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Because I want to connect this into the Tower of Babel, to this biblical thing, because there's just an awakening here to think about like the God of the Bible, the Old Testament versus New Testament, two different worlds completely. Like the Tower of Babel is like, well, these people are just getting too smart for their own good, so we're going to confuse them and give them language, and everyone's going to speak a different language. And that sounds like, to me, I don't know if you have a connection to this, but to me that sounds like, it's like, well, the Annunaki were like, they're too telepathic, we're going to take away their telepathy, and now they have to speak verbally because we can't let them have that much power. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, so that's the story that happens from the energy that shifts. So the energy was shifting from learning about the intuition and that to the logic side. So it has to have a story that develops with it. So all these stories are valid, but they are just the stories that shift us into learning all of it about our logic. So that the Anunnaki were very powerful. Yeah, they were giants. They were very powerful.
They're giants. Yep.
Yeah. So they came when they came to me. I kept seeing 444 everywhere this day. It was crazy. It was like everything I looked at had 444 on it. And I'm like, oh, now actually I have to take you back a few years previously. I actually sat up in bed because my whole window imploded inwards, and these 4 angelic beings on horseback came into my room, and I saw them clear as day, like the windows shattering inwards, and it was a huge explosion. They came and then they started flying around my room, and I sat up, and my husband at the time said that I had said, they're coming soon, not just yet. I've been waiting for this one. So that was a few years prior.
And the windows shattered, all that was more like, that was not physical, that was more dimensional.
Physical.
Oh, the windows shattered in your home?
No, but it didn't, but it did to me. So okay. To me, it was energetic how they introduced themselves. Like, we're this powerful, you know. But I literally saw my window implode inwards.
It was another dimension.
Yeah, it was another frequency that they were coming through, and that I could tap, that they knew they could get to me.
Because you're multidimensional. You're so multidimensional yourself. You can be on all these different dimensions and have different experiences, and experience something here in this dimension. It's completely physical to you, but in our physical, it's not there. But you're so multidimensional that you're able to experience it physically.
That's right. So my ex-husband, my husband at the time, didn't see any of that. He just saw me sit up in bed and go, what the? And he jumps out of bed because he got a fright and trying to figure out what's happening. Yeah. So that was a few years prior to them actually coming. Now, then this day I saw 444 everywhere. And that night I woke up to see a orange UFO outside my bedroom window, and it was shaped like a UFO, like only yay big, you know, wasn't like, it's just a couple of feet big or whatever. And it was very close to my window, but it was shaped like the disc, but you could tell it was only made out of light, orange light. So it wasn't like a material UFO. It was like but I think they were trying to show me there's something here. Now, the next day, because I see things into other dimensions that others can't, I was very grateful because I got online, and the first thing I saw online was somebody else in my hometown saying, did anyone else see the orange UFO last night? So I'm like, okay, this is for real. There's something happening here. And then the very next day, I woke up to 4 huge beings in my room. Now, I had a 11 feet tall ceiling in a very old house at the time. So they were probably around, I don't know, 9, 10 feet. They were very tall. and they were cloaked, and they had, their hair was wavy, long as yours, and or even longer and thick, and curly kind of thing. And the power of them was huge. And I think they wanted to test me out to see if I could handle their frequency or something. So next to me is my bedside lamp, and usually I would flick on my bedside lamp because I know I'm in alpha state of mind now to be able to see them. But if I flick into beta state, you know, I'm more in this reality, and they will hopefully disappear, hopefully. So normally I would flick on my lamp with something huge like that happening. That's very overwhelming. But this time somehow they've got in my head, and I forgot about my lamp. And I knew I had to go through them to flick on the switch on the wall. So I sat up in bed and just went, well, I'm going to flick on the switch because I can't have you in my room. So I actually got up and went, excuse me, as I'm getting through these things.
Pardon, excuse me.
Excuse me. You know, I do respect you, but I got to get to that light and get rid of you because this is just way overwhelming. So then after that, they used to take me to their ship as well, and I would wake up paralyzed. I asked them about that because you know how you wake up and you can't move for a while. I hate that because I'm claustrophobic at the best of times. So I'm like, ugh, don't do that. But they said to me they came to me in a dream, and they were like they just said hello, and it was like booming hello, and they said that's our vibration. If you couldn't handle our vibration at the moment, so we're doing this in a way that you don't remember everything that's happening straight away, but you will remember the stories that we tell you and who we are and all that sort of stuff. A few weeks after I had the experience of them coming into my room, my daughters and I went outside, and we saw a massive mist that came down from the sky. It was just a massive mist that came down and formed a complete rectangle in the sky. So it was like a cloud that was completely straight rectangle in the sky. It kind of looked like a light that was beaming up from Earth, but not, because it's in the sky, right? And you could see both ends. And we saw it. One of my daughters said she can't remember, but the other one can. And we looked up at this thing, and it then started to peter off into like a comet thing with a trail, and that was actually photographed, as that in the papers the next day. But I saw it first, like this huge ship that was just a etheric kind of a ship, and they said that's how protected you are. So don't worry about things. You're very, very protected. So the other Annunaki, they came here to shift us through the vibration. They did their job well. They've actually come back now. And I know they have, because this all happened through the same time of a death of a Israeli prime minister that was predicted by another Israeli guy that did predictions, and he died, and on his deathbed he left a note. It was something that I was led to that kind of coincided with the fact of the arrival of these beings. So I know that they've been observing us. They realize now that humanity is part of this huge shift, because when we shift ourselves, we give them purpose. When we shift to our authentic self, we give their story purpose of and validation of being here. So we need to come to our authentic higher selves to say to all those other beings that have helped us, yes, it was worth it. Yes, it was worth it. We are taking you through to source energy. This is who you are. You're love. You've got a reason for doing all of that you've done.
Well, this is what I'm picking up, is that in so much that they stunted us, they stunted themselves, because that's just karma. It's like in so much that they limited us, even though it had gifts that came with that, because it introduced the left brain and it introduced this whole new cycle. it still impacted them because
Yes.
they put their genetics in us. We share a common vibration. How they impacted us and how they stunted us also is going to show up in their personal evolution, and they can only get so far until they come back as allies and no longer masters. And then that's where their story shifts, because they are willing to make amends in the way that they do that. They have kind of really big egos is what I'm picking up. But like, in so much that they're able to say, yes, you know, we've come back to rectify that, and this is going to help our evolution, but it's also for your evolution. Does that resonate when I say that?
Yeah, they are realizing that they are source, that they're oneness, that we're all one. And when they start to really realize that there's no better or worse or smaller
Lesser
or whatever,
than.
but they did their job very well. Yeah, and I take my hat off to them for doing that, because that's a hard shift, going from right brain to left brain. Also, a message that I'm getting right now is that, hang on, no, lost it. Okay, I'll come back to that one. It was something to do with Earth. Oh, that's right. A message that I was downloaded last night. Earth is an amazing planet. She's held a lot of different frequencies on her, and so because she could handle all of those different frequencies and the vast contrast of all those different frequencies, it allowed for the birth of humanity that has the contrast, such a huge contrast, which is duality in itself, closest to source energy. There. I didn't read that. I had to remember it.
Yeah.
It's very important to realize just how important Earth is. She's a library. See, all these other beings for all of their species and stuff, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, Earth can handle that vibration. None of them died. You know, most of them survived. Look how many species is on this planet. Just absolutely trillions. And the vast contrast that's here. What an absolute creation, you know. So Earth itself holds these as a creative being in herself, and so she can create the diversity that's needed to bring us back to source. Because when we as one were just love, we wanted to experience ourselves. So to do that, we had to split, and to split, we needed something completely opposite ourselves that we forgot about, but all both come from love. And so we have this split, and it's very like the yin yang kind of a thing. And so that split was duality, and that was the first split that happened. Now we are, with duality inside of us, going back to source to be able to bring everybody and all the other species to remember that their story was valid, that they were actually breeding into vibration that could handle both sides of creation to bring back to source energy again. It's pretty cool.
Well, it's so deep and expansive, and it's just so, it's like libraries and libraries and libraries of information. So let's move forward and go on to the fourth beings, which I think were the Lyrans. Is that right?
The Lyrans. So the fourth beings were the Lyrans. They, the vegans, were the first creators of this universe, and they created. They're amazing creators, but their bodies became very weak. It's like they got to the pinnacle of their creation within this reality, and so the consumer races of the Draconians became to the stretch of their race and consumeration and lineal story and all of that sort of stuff. So what we did as source energy is bring these two together. So there was a porthole that allowed the reptilian draconian energy to come into this reality, and the Lyrans were like, oh yeah, you can have whatever, we're creative,
we're loving, we give
whatever, it's all good. And the the Lyrans just attacked, the Draconians attacked. So when they attacked, they blew up all these planets, and then it scattered the Lyrans all around the universe to try to find DNA to strengthen their bodies to be able to handle. So this is how all the story came around to us when Earth was found could hold these two very valuable vibrations, bring us back to, oneness again.
Yeah.
So the Lyrans came to me. They actually were needed to have something. If we give you this, we want something from you. You know, you give us, we give us. Kind of like bartering, because they had been through so much with the Draconians. They'd learned we're going to stand in our ground and we're not going to be taken advantage of. And so you need to give us just the same amount of energy back as we're giving you. And if I asked them a question, they would take something from me, kind of thing. Yeah. So they came. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Reptilians kind of took advantage of the Lyrans, just open accessibility. And so the Lyrans had to go on their own journey of learning how to hold their ground and learning how to, which is also a genetic thing, right? Because that's what you're saying is like, it's like they went out to expand and refine their genetics. It wasn't just their emotional or physical, it was their genetics, because it's all really connected. And that's what we're slow in coming to in this game of on being this planet.
And they became a lot of different breeds as well. So there's a lot of Lyran and a lot of different breeds, you know. You could say I've been visited by Lyran, but they've got hybrids everywhere of different breedings. And it made a very beautiful, vast, awesome, you know, experience with all these different breeds. Yeah. But I don't think they realized that the breed that they were going to create was going to be part draconian. We have a reptilian brain and we're part that. So I don't think that they thought that would be their saving grace. They probably thought that would be the worst thing. I don't know. But they're probably very surprised to realize, this is what's going to bring us, you know, to validate our story.
Yeah, the thing that was their enemy was actually their medicine. Pop in, Linda.
Yeah, I want to bring that down into the individual level of each of us. And each of us, I think, has journey of finding our boundaries and holding our boundaries sovereign. And so in a way, that's all the way from our DNA of a lesson that each of us individually in this planet materialize within us. Or don't, but that is part of our journey. And it's interesting that you're saying this, that could be from our actual DNA of needing to learn how to hold our boundaries. And by doing that, again, because time is relative, because we live even though our lives here are linear, that in the big picture, in the quantum reality, where time doesn't exist the same way and dimensions don't exist the same way, that this is one area in which we are actually bringing that down into the 3D world, into our world right now.
Yes, so that we can have a story that can develop into something, create something brand new and beautiful that's coming from the love of ourselves, which is what we all are authentically, is just love anyway. So if we start creating from that, and another thing with the DNA, like they say, we only, 10% is awoken and 10% of our brains awoken, and we only see 10% of the universe outside of ourselves. Well, the more we awaken at DNA, the more neuron paths are awoken, the more we see out there as well and experience. And it's not just through a physical, logical telescope. This is going to be something that happens within the mind, because the two hemispheres of the brain open up the pineal gland. And I was brought to that very valuable information through my 4-year-old daughter after asking for the potential of mankind. So, she, at the age of 4, I thought she was 3. She said she's 4. But she said to me, I know where we go when we die. It's a place called Anyon. It's where everything is everything, Mummy. But we live in our minds now. But we also live in Anyon as well. You can look it up, but you have to thank me for this one. So,
wow.
So I'm like,
look it up. I'm right.
Yeah, I'm right. So like here I am, just held hands with this beautiful, Cherokee elder Parisha at Taylor, and then, taught that telepathic communication is valid. Then having my daughter have this say to me. And then, of course, I get on the computer and I look up Anyon, and Anyon was a quantum physics, a quantum physics kind of particle that was in theory. And actually, I just found out that now they've actually found it. Of course, they have, just as we're coming to source energy. But it was residing within 2 dimensions. I'm no scientist. I can only tell you what I read on Wikipedia. But it resided in 2 dimensions. So you've got the material side. I think that's boson or fermon. There's boson and fermon. And one is material and one is in the light. And so what happens is when we have our 2 hemispheres of our brain, left and right, and it's not warring anymore, because we cannot enter the pineal gland through a warring mind. You cannot do that. That's the key to coming to our authentic selves and our gifts. So the pineal gland is like a third eye. It's the center of our brain. It has little micro crystals within it that float around normally, but the fluoride and all that had shut it down because the left brain was only, was in charge for a while. But as we're breaking away all of this and coming to our love space and all that, that'll all break away anyway, and we'll get the clues on how to break it, to shake it up, to be able to flow freely again. If you've ever seen the Tibetan monks that chant, and when they're chanting, they say they go into another dimension, and then they create these mandalas, sacred geometry patterns. Or if you've ever seen someone throw salt on a vibrating plate, and the vibrating plate chings into, as it ups the frequency, goes into these different sacred geometry or mandala kind of patterns. This is what our pineal gland does too. And each pattern is holding a vibration to a certain experience around the world. I'm going to say around the world, and around the universe and the multi-dimensions and stuff that we can align ourselves with. So say, for instance, a being from Pleiades wanted to make contact with humanity, then they send through vibration the crop circle pattern. And we all see the crop circle pattern, and now we have the code to remember what our pineal gland has to vibrate to or a sound. They'll send a sound. Either or, it's still going to help. Sound vibration can help as well. So those vibrations then through the pineal gland, I think it's got serotonin changes into melatonin. So there's the light, there's the dark, and then yields it with a bit of citric acid or something like that. This is something I learned ages and ages ago, and I haven't found anything like it since, and I can't find the document again, sorry. But through this yielding, it turns it into DMT. Is it dimethyltryptamine? And that DMT,
yeah.
Dimethyltryptamine. And
Yeah,
that DMT exists, I was told, was existing in every single life form. And that's the God particle that connects us all. So with that, we shift those little crystals that are inside our pineal gland, get into the science of it, into with the Anyon experience that my daughter was telling me about, where fermon and boson can go between and shift between, then it will shift with our intention into light, which gives us more expansion to be able to connect to those beings that are in higher vibrations. So that's what I was told about that.
Wow. Good Lord. Everything is so it's so rich. Thank you for breaking that down, because that's quite a journey. Miss Linda wants to ask a question, then also Jillian has joined us, and I want Jillian to be able to pop in. Was that what you were going to say?
That was actually what I was going to say. And also, I know that we're kind of coming to the end of our hour and a half together. We will be putting Bobbie's information.
It's there.
Yes.
It's there.
In the information with this video for future, so that people can reach out to Bobbie.
Thank you so much, because I love doing these talks. I'm getting used to them now, so I would love to just you know, get out in the world and spread these messages as much as possible. It's exciting for me.
You're
I'm
so
ready
primed
now. I'm
for it.
ready now.
Yeah.
It's like, otherwise all of that's been told to me is a waste, and it's not fair for me to keep it to myself anymore. So I need to, this is my time to share and to help as many people come to their authentic selves as possible. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Thank
Jillian,
you.
do you want to go ahead and ask questions?
Yeah, hop in, Miss
Yes.
Jillian.
So Sharon had a question, and she asked,
Hume?
yeah, pardon?
Sharon Hume, Hume. Is it? Hi, Sharon.
Yes,
We love
yes.
you.
So she asked, how can we keep our energy focused? We hear it all the time, but in this world, it only takes a minute to lose your focus and boom, back into unfocused stuff again.
Okay, so whenever you're feeling like something's coming to unfocus and you're like in a, now I'm in a yucky stage, accept it as part of the experience that source wants to experience. Just say, oh, you know what, I'm in a down place. Okay, it's fine. It's okay to be in a down place at this moment, because I'm giving source a new feeling through this down place. And then when you go up to, you know, feeling bliss again, oh, now I'm, you know, and you're giving that story to source. So allow, because the frequencies are very, very, you know, quick at the moment to bring us to alignment of loving authentically. But through that journey, we have the contrast happen. And the best thing you can do is just to say, you know what, I'm unfocused. I'm not focused. I'm allowing myself to just be in this moment of who I am present, and accepting myself as absolutely valid for the whole story and the journey that I'm going through. So you don't need to come down on yourself anymore about it. Just allow it to happen. I mean, obviously, if you're just hanging on to tooth and grim to something negative all the time, and you just think you're right, and you know your ego is way out of control, there's going to be a lot of people reflecting that back to you anyway, and you'll just see it over and over and over and over again, and then you'll have to look at yourself to change it instead of looking outside yourself. Obviously, I'm sure everybody who's probably listening to this is already doing the inner journey and the inner work. And those people are going to just have to, they will end up looking back into themselves after a while, because they'll just get sick of being caught out. They'll just get sick of being caught out, like the government's being caught out. Everyone's being caught out that's not in their authentic self now.
God, I hope that's true.
I was going to say, I love what you said, Bobbie, because I think one of the things that I see is this desire that we ignore and are not feeling like we are doing something right if we feel those dark sorrows or that negative, quote unquote, energy. But the more we deny it, the more it's almost like a toxic positivity. If we deny our whole self and our whole experience and only want to be positive, then it becomes toxic, because we are not experiencing everything as a whole. It's
not necessarily just going to be bliss after this. We are slowly coming to our bliss, but the contrast is also needed as well, but it won't be it's kind of like we're upping our level from being way down here to up here, and that's the bottom now. And now we're coming, you know, so we're actually more happier and content with ourselves and what we're creating in the world, because we're validating our journey. We're validating the left logical journey that we've just been through, and the separation from source energy, so that we could have learned from that.
Good. I love that. That's so good. Thank you for saying it that way. I want to let Miss Jillian continue. I know she's got more.
So yeah, you had mentioned that you don't see the beings as much anymore physically, and that now it's more channeled through. So was it have you always been channeling them through, or was it a transition over a period of time to have them come through, if that makes sense?
Yeah. To begin with, when they started coming through, it was more to wake me up. It's like, what the frick is this? What's that? You know, oh my God, get my attention, that sort of thing. And then the energies were flowing through me of all of the messages from different beings and different scenarios so that I could integrate them myself. So it would always be the span of quite a few years with certain things, but also it went in between each other kind of thing. And then it was like I had a shamanic experience with a lovely lady who told me my spirit animal was eagle. And when that happened, the next night, a big cross came down at me. Like I just woke up and saw a huge cross coming down. From then on, it was like I could, so we're talking 20 years ago. From then on, I could start to learn from the experience of working with these other frequencies and different beings. And they definitely showed themselves a lot through all of that and a lot of different things. And then after, when I turned 50, it started slowing down at the end of 40. And I actually went through a couple of moments where I was like, oh, I'm just missing you guys. Where are you? And it was then shown, told to me, it's okay. Everything's meant to be this way. I saw another cross coming down at me. It was the end. And then for the next 3 years, because I'm 53 now, I haven't seen anything, but now I really feel them with me. And when people ask questions like this, they start pouring through me so that I can answer the question, through them, as well as I'm pretty sure it's my higher self as well. It's not just these beings. There's the connection that I have to source energy that I can bring through to help other people as well to realize the true story of what's really going on.
Yeah, I think
when you say you see the cross coming down at you, is it with your eyes open or with them shut? Because me, I went through 1.5 years of doing long meditations every day, and I was seeing beings every day, like different beings, extraterrestrial looking, angelic, you name it. And I don't see them anymore. And it's been like a year. Like I see images of other things, and I'll see people who are
I can feel you're sad that you're missing them too.
I am, but now I'm in a position where, like you mentioned, it's for a purpose. It was almost like that 1.5 years, they were coming in just to kind of prepare me for what's coming now, because I've got a whole avenue opening up with them, without these meditations. But
they're teaching you telepathy as well now. If they were in front of you like that, then they want you to trust that they are for real now. And with that, they're teaching you telepathy, because beings are actually going to physically come and integrate into humanity. And the first step is telepathy. They need to do that first so that we can feel their energy and we know who they are, that we're not afraid of who they are through the false energy that's been pretend energy that's coming. So if they're telepathic with us, we know who they are, and we allow them, as we get stronger with that, to be able to visit with us. I actually saw, I had in a dream these very beautiful blue etheric beings that had kind of, if you've ever seen The End of the Knowing, they have the End of the Knowing with Nicolas Cage in it. It has these beings that come down, and they're etheric, and they have well, I saw them, but very vivid blue. And
I've seen that before too.
And they had all this electricity kind of there. It was like etheric, and they came down in a UFO craft in my dream, and I'm like, oh my God, they are here. And then they turn into like a rainbow ball, and then to not scare me, and then they lied down on the ground and formed themselves as a human. They wanted to lie down, so they're like, we are not afraid of you, we're lying down, we're very vulnerable here. And they told me that the seekers would be appointed around Earth when the government falls. And I'm actually doing intuitive counseling at the moment, And the intuitive counseling that I'm doing, I'm actually tripping up over these people that are seekers and healers of the earth, because the seekers sort the parts of the earth that need realignment, and the healers are the ones that go in and heal. And so I'm like uniting them together through this intuitive counseling that's happening, because all my hairs and my legs and my arms, when I find one, just stand up when I find out who they are. But the crazy thing is, I had a huge shift myself 2 to 3 months ago with my partner. It was very deceiving energy, and he taught me to really 100% trust my instincts. So actually, I have to thank him for being here, because I wouldn't step out into my authentic self without that experience. Mm-hmm. But when that happened, I had to leave the house, and I found this beautiful place that I'm in now, which I absolutely love. I open up the blinds to this unit, and here's the street that was in my dream, where the beings come down at the end. And I'm looking at it going, oh my God, it's for real. This is interesting. Okay. Yeah. So every time I open up the blinds, I feel them. I see them.
Wow. I had an OBE last year, and a astral experience in my bedroom, and there was a blue light being in there. Brilliant. And it's every single cell in my body was vibrating. Like it was like I was just on a huge electrical charge. And at one point I could feel like this swirling around my arm. It was a physical, icy, cold sensation just going up and down. It's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's igniting you and igniting your cells and lifting your vibration up as well. How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that these beings are higher benevolent beings, closer to source energy, more Pleiadian type beings that, there's a lot of planets in Pleiades. It's not just the ones that Billy Myers came into. There's a lot more variety and levels of consciousness out there. We can't look at our planet and not think that there's all these different levels of consciousnesses out there as well.
And I've had that feeling as well with that, thinking that it might have been Pleiadian, because I know I've had experiences with Pleiadians before, and that's the type of energy that I did feel from it. But I have one more question. So when you woke up in the new earth, in that type of dream state, I know what you mean, by the way, as well, where it's not a dream, but it's like you're actually physically somewhere, but it's in a
something
dream
you
state.
Remember forever.
Oh yeah, I had one.
I've had many.
When you did that, when you were communicating, was there any verbal communication, or was it telepathic and like an energetic exchange within that?
No verbal, just for my experience. That's why I say potential new earth. Me, in my experience, it was not verbal. And even coming back, I got sucked up the tree. So it was like the tree of life to come back to my original state. I've also been in meditation and then taken to another reality through cloud vortex that had spider webs all through it, and I had to brave myself through that to go into another reality. When I came back out of that, I literally I did hear outside of myself these angelic voices that were holding vibration for me to go visit that space. So that's why I knew with my pineal gland would have been vibrated by these beings to help lift me into that space to this other reality. It's interesting.
Oh yeah. Yes, it is. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're on the right path. That's for certain.
Oh my God. Yeah, Jillian, you're amazing. Like you're dropping these bombshells. I knew that you were.
There's a lot. There's a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of the Ponti, that's how kind of you and I met, were really through this Ponti connection, where their whole thing is there's the Ponti 101 telepathy primer, where you learn, where they're like, become telepathic with us and learn how to communicate. And there you are, Bobbie, saying like, they're coming in and they want us to develop our telepathy first so we can have this relationship with them and we can get through our fear and we can have like this organic relationship with them and so when they do show up physically, we already know it's them because we've got this rapport going.
That's
and
right.
It's such a huge piece. And
so just allow what you need to do is telepathy is done through vibration and feeling. So you might wake up and feel something that gives you information. And with that information, I write it down, or you can speak it, or you can draw it. But it's like the feeling in itself is the information that you have. So when I was connected to Parisha, she held my hand and she's breathing in this I thought she'd fallen asleep. Anyway, but she hadn't. She was supposed to be doing a talk on a remote view movie that we were seeing, and she asked me to sit next to her. So this was all, meant to happen. And then she breathes in this energy that she ended up connecting with me. Now, that connection was feeling. It's not what you would say words. You turn it into words. You turn it into words in your mind through the feeling. So she would be asking me what my life's like, and she could feel everything. It's beyond words. So I can speak to you and you only get my words. When you have feeling, you get the whole picture. You get more than words. Yeah. You get the experience, the emotions, the everything that comes with that question. There's no need to be afraid of it because there's no lies, there's no deceptions, there's no nothing when it's true telepathy. And that's how they will do it. When it's mind control, when it's some beings mind controlling you, that's a totally different feeling and energy of you get graspy. You'll feel a graspy feeling. You'll want to be seen. You want to be heard. You want to be the center. That sort of energy happens with mind control, and it's totally different than telepathy. Telepathy is expansive, and and the story develops very clearly. And then we will be able to project our stories outside of ourselves. Everything that we have around us is an ability that we have from within us. So television is something that we can actually link into each other's minds and connect and have a movie playing out from ourselves and from our imagination as the storytellers start to develop more stories and become telepathic. There is so much more than what the so-called leaders are presenting to us with a microchip planted into your brain that you can turn on some lights. I mean, come on, those things are pathetic compared to the expansion of where we're going, and they know that. And it's in a short amount of time. It's in our lifetime. Do not be afraid of the fact that you are part of this huge evolution shift that's happening. We are moving towards source energy. 21st, I was told 28th, 29th is when Gaia gives birth. That's my story. Then I heard link to the 21st.
Who gives birth?
Pardon?
Gaia.
Gaia. Oh, the 21st.
Gaia gives birth is because I was taken to source, to oneness on the 28th, 29th of March this year. And I saw the earth had just entered the vortex going through the chakra lines of the center of the torus. It's kind of like a body that we're going around. And if we're just a particle going around the body, we go through, so we become, all of a sudden people start awaking in the 60s, and then we end up going through from the higher chakra through to the throat chakra, and we end up speaking more and be more verbal with everything. And now we're going into our heart chakra, which is source energy, love, which is where we all come from. And then we'll go through the other chakras to go the other side. It's very quick, that part. It's a quickening. That happens very fast, and then we go on. We ground the story by the end of next year or around that time anyway. We ground the story, and then we start on our journey back thousands of years on another story of creating something beautiful from balance.
I love that.
Yeah,
I want that to be true so hard. I want that to be true so hard.
Well, can you just let go of that, because can you even see what's happening around the earth at the moment? We've all been sent home. Where's home? love's home. Love, their authentic self is home. People are starting to become more creative from it. The whole world is in lockdown. These beings that have been in control know this, and they are trying to keep us under control, but it's not going to work. Yes, they're going to throw some storms our way because there's so many people that haven't woken up yet, but we're the first ones to wake up. We came here to wake up first, and then we wake up everybody else. So the more we connect with each other energetically and with talks like this and all of this sort of stuff, the more we validate the experience of where we're going, and we ignore their experience of and being in a controlled society, that we need to give them all of the control and that we're victim to them. So that will just disappear because we are connecting huge. And 21st of
December,
this month, 21st of December, huge thing happening in Uluru here in Australia. Uluru is a creative center. Uluru is where Earth imagines her dreamings from, hence the Aboriginals and their dreamings. So then the energy will be opened up as a porthole, go through to Australia around the outside, and then from there, especially the east side, which is where I'm on, pings off to, we take it to New Zealand, which I possibly am part of that because I come from New Zealand. Then New Zealand has is close to the really big vortex that's happening on Earth, and that's just going to go for wildfire all over the Earth, just ping, 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 open up everybody's consciousness and the new portholes and stuff like that, and everything will start falling away. So this is where we're coming up to, source energy. It's extremely exciting. And don't be too down if you think that the story isn't developing as you think, because people will wake up at their own when they're supposed to wake up. Don't you do your bit, you do your piece of how you feel. That's what you need to focus on. That's why we've come home to ourselves. It's more valid because there is only one reality, and it's yours. Yours is the only reality. So if you come back to your authentic self of loving who you are, everything around you loves who you are, and you become part of that. So it's only one reality, yours. And a cat's reality is only a cat's. If we're going to see the person, that Earth, say the Taurus, that energy that's coming through this being, if it is a being, say we were going to see that being, it would be you. See, it's like a Fibonacci sequence. It's like the Fibonacci sequence where everything is everything is everything is everything is everything. That's why my daughter said everything. We are in everything, and everything's in us. So
fractal reality.
Yeah, it's fractal. So you are the only experience. It's quite mind-bending, isn't it? When their logical brain goes, what the frick?
Yeah.
But no, what I hear is, and have seen for a while, is just this light grid of all of us are. I get two images that are really fun. It's this grid of people,
yes,
who are waking, and I get popcorn.
Okay.
As we wake up, we're popcorn popping open, popping up,
and it smells nice too.
And it smells nice too.
I love butter.
And buttery. We'll just get really good with this.
No, yeah, that's right. And the more you become authentic, everything around you becomes more authentic. And so it just happens that way. So Earth ends up vibrating with this authentic self again, and coming online with all the gifts that we're going to go towards. Yeah, beautiful.
It's gorgeous. All right, well, let's wrap it up there, because we are coming into an hour 45.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that.
Which is great. I mean, there's questions. I hope you're willing to come back on, because there's questions I didn't even get to ask you.
I would love to come back on. Love to.
Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I really thank you for this opportunity. I'm so grateful for all the opportunities and the wonderful people I'm meeting at the moment. I'm overwhelmed and humbled by it all. I really am.
Well, it's a blessing to have you on. So thank you so much for being completely authentic. You embody authenticity, and you're very empowering. You're a natural channel. you've just got a big, open, glorious heart that only wants to like give and heal and connect. And so I really see that and honor that in you. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bobbie. Thank you, Jillian.
Yeah, and thank you, Jillian. You're just amazing in so many ways. I'm so glad you're our engagement gal. And one day we're gonna have a show that you're our guest, and we're gonna talk to you about your experiences because you just are.
Absolutely, that's a great idea for her.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Because we all hold a piece of the puzzle, and I do believe you have a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I feel that. I totally feel that. And thank you, Miss Linda, for being here and for always just being your glorious, wonderful, sweet, magical self. I love you so much.
Oh, Kat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Very
Thank you, everyone. And the final words here I'll say are just remember to like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell so you can become part of our community. We have all our information down below. Please join our Facebook group if you feel so inclined. Share this video if you feel so inclined. So we love you. We honor you. We bless you. Be good to yourself and be good to others. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. There we are.